For generations, the peaceful Italian fishing village of Porto Rosso has been surrounded by mysterious legends. The villagers believe terrifying sea monsters live beneath the waves, waiting for the perfect moment to attack. While many people are too frightened to sail far from shore, brave fishermen head into the sea every day, hoping to catch one of these legendary creatures and become local heroes. Far below the sparkling blue ocean lives a shy young sea monster named Luca. Unlike the scary monsters humans imagine, Luca is gentle, curious, and full of dreams. Every day, he spends his time herding schools of fish, while helping his mother and grandmother with their daily chores. Although he always obeys his family, Luca secretly loves exploring the ocean. Whenever he gets the chance, he swims away from his work to collect strange treasures that have fallen from the human world: old clocks, cards, cups, and countless other mysterious objects. He has no idea what most of them are, but each one fills him with endless curiosity. One afternoon, while searching through a rocky underwater cave for more forgotten treasures, Luca suddenly notices something terrifying. A strange figure wearing a rusty diving suit is swimming directly toward him. Believing it's a human hunter, Luca quickly hides behind the rocks. But the mysterious diver keeps following him until there's nowhere left to escape. Frightened, Luca slowly looks at the diver's face through the helmet. To his complete surprise, the person inside isn't human at all. It's another young sea monster named Alberto. Unlike Luca, Alberto is fearless, confident, and loves adventure. He casually grabs the objects Luca found and swims toward a tiny island sticking out of the ocean. Curious, Luca follows him from a distance. When they finally reach the surface, Luca witnesses something unbelievable. As Alberto climbs onto the land, his scales disappear instantly, his tail transforms into legs, and he becomes an ordinary human boy. Luca can hardly believe his eyes. He never knew sea monsters could transform into humans simply by leaving the water. Alberto laughs at Luca's shocked expression and pulls him onto the shore. The moment Luca steps onto land, the same magical transformation happens to him. His fins disappear, his skin changes, and for the first time in his life, he looks exactly like a human. Luca stares at his own hands and feet in amazement. Everything feels strange, exciting, and completely new. That night, he returns home, but he can't stop thinking about what he experienced. His mind is filled with questions about the mysterious world above the sea. The next morning, unable to resist his curiosity, Luca secretly returns to the island. Alberto encourages him to walk around on land. At first, Luca stumbles awkwardly, barely able to keep his balance, but after a while he slowly learns how to walk like a human. Alberto happily introduces him to all kinds of human inventions and activities. Most of them seem interesting, but one thing captures Luca's imagination more than anything else: a picture of a beautiful Vespa scooter. The two boys instantly fall in love with the idea of owning one. They imagine riding together across the countryside, traveling wherever they want without anyone telling them what to do. Unfortunately, neither of them has any money. Instead of giving up, Alberto suggests building their own Vespa using old scraps and broken pieces they find around the island. After spending hours collecting junk and putting everything together, they manage to build something that actually resembles a scooter. Proud of their creation, they admire their hard work, but Lucas soon realizes he's been away from home much longer than he planned. Afraid his parents will discover where he's been, he rushes back into the ocean before sunset. The following day, the boys excitedly test their homemade Vespa. Alberto confidently rides it downhill, imagining himself speeding across Italy. Unfortunately, the scooter immediately falls apart. Its wheels fly off, the frame collapses, and Alberto crashes into the ground while broken pieces scatter everywhere. Although disappointed, the boys can't help laughing at the disaster. Meanwhile, Luca's parents begin noticing that their son has been disappearing almost every day. After following him, they finally discover that he's been sneaking up to the dangerous surface world. Terrified that humans might capture or kill him, they make a difficult decision. They plan to send Luca far into the deepest parts of the ocean to live with his strange uncle, whose transparent skin makes him look even stranger than most sea monsters. Luca absolutely refuses. The thought of spending the rest of his life hiding deep underwater fills him with fear. Without telling anyone, he runs away and finds Alberto. After explaining everything, the two friends decide to leave home together forever. Using an old broken fishing boat as cover, they secretly travel toward the nearby human town of Porto Rosso. As they enter the lively town square, everything amazes Luca. People walk freely through colorful streets, children play games together, music fills the air, and delicious food is everywhere still. Luca remains nervous. He notices fishermen carrying large hooks and heavy fishing nets, the very tools humans use to hunt sea monsters, trying not to attract attention. The boys continue exploring until they spot someone riding a shiny Vespa scooter. Their eyes light up with excitement. Just as they're about to admire it more closely, a soccer ball suddenly rolls toward them after a group of children accidentally kicks it too hard. Wanting to help, Luca kicks the ball back. Unfortunately, he kicks it far too hard. The ball flies straight into the Vespa belonging to Ercole, the town's arrogant teenage bully. Ercole is furious. He immediately begins mocking and humiliating Luca and Alberto in front of everyone. To make matters worse, he shoves Luca toward a nearby fountain. If Luca falls into the water, he'll instantly transform back into a sea monster. At the last possible second, a brave girl named Julia rushes over and pulls both boys away before anyone notices their secret. After escaping Ercole, Julia tells them about the annual Porto Rosso Cup, a strange but famous competition where contestants must complete 3 different challenges: swimming across the harbor, eating a huge plate of pasta, and riding bicycles through the steep streets of town. Ercole has won the competition many times and uses the prize money to show off around town. Julia has entered several times herself, but has always lost. This year, she's determined to finally defeat him. Luca quickly comes up with an idea. Instead of competing alone, why not form a team? Julia loves the suggestion. The 3 friends begin testing each other's abilities to decide who should handle each event. Since Luca and Alberto must avoid getting wet at all costs, they pretend they simply don't know how to swim. As a result, Julia volunteers for the swimming race. Luca proves to be surprisingly good at riding bicycles, so he takes the cycling event. Alberto, who has an enormous appetite, happily accepts the pasta-eating challenge. Later, Julia invites both boys to her home. There they meet her father, Massimo, a giant fisherman with a thick mustache and an intimidating appearance. Ironically, Massimo is famous for hunting sea monsters. He has absolutely no idea that the 2 boys sitting at his dinner table are the very creatures he's spent years searching for. During dinner, Luca accidentally splashes water onto Alberto's face. For a brief moment, Alberto's human appearance disappears, revealing his sea monster skin. Thankfully, they manage to cover it up before Massimo notices anything suspicious. The next day, the boys volunteer to help Massimo catch fish so they can earn enough money to pay the race registration fee. Thanks to their knowledge of the sea, they guide him to an area filled with fish. Massimo is amazed by how naturally the boys understand the ocean. After selling the fish, they finally earn enough money to enter the race. But just when everything seems perfect, Ercole and his 2 loyal followers steal the money. Instead of fighting him directly, the children make fun of Ercole's ridiculous mustache. The teasing embarrasses him so much that he angrily throws the money back at them before storming away. Training for the competition finally begins. Julia practices swimming every day. Luca spends hours learning to ride bicycles through Porto Rosso's steep hills. Alberto trains by eating enormous bowls of pasta as quickly as possible. One afternoon, Ercole tries to scare them by racing past in his boat. A huge splash of water lands on Alberto, causing parts of his body to transform back into his sea monster form. Trying to save him, Luca accidentally knocks Alberto into the water, exposing his tail. Luckily, almost no one notices what happened. At the same time, Luca's worried parents arrive in Porto Rosso searching desperately for their missing son and Tio find him. They begin pushing random children into fountains, hoping one of them will suddenly transform into a sea monster. Luca sees them from a distance and panics. Before they can discover him, Massimo calls Alberto away to help with some fishing work, leaving Luca alone with Giulia. Giulia invites Luca into her bedroom and proudly shows him her collection of books. For the first time in his life, Luca discovers subjects like astronomy, zoology, and science. He becomes completely fascinated. Looking through Giulia's telescope, he stares at the stars, planets, and the endless universe beyond Earth. His dreams suddenly become much bigger than simply owning a Vespa. Before he leaves, Giulia gives him one of her astronomy books as a gift. When Alberto later joins them, he notices how close Luca and Giulia have become. Although he tries not to show it, he quietly begins feeling left out. As the three friends walk past a beautiful Vespa displayed in a shop window, Luca excitedly talks about everything he has learned about space and the stars, but Alberto isn't interested. When Luca says that going to school might be even more exciting than owning a Vespa, Alberto strongly disagrees. He reminds Luca that humans would never truly accept them if they discovered they were sea monsters. Just then, Ercole appears once again. He throws a harpoon toward the boys and orders his friends, Guido and Ciccio, to grab Alberto while he prepares to attack him. Seeing his best friend in danger, Luca bravely grabs the harpoon and points it back at Ercole. Surprised by Luca's courage, the bullies back away. Luca, Alberto, and Giulia quickly escape and spend the night safely at Giulia's house. Over the following days, training for the Porto Rosso Cup becomes even more intense. Luca works tirelessly to master cycling while carrying heavy loads. Alberto continues preparing for the pasta challenge. Giulia pushes herself harder every day in the water. Meanwhile, Luca and Giulia begin spending more and more time together reading books, studying astronomy, learning about animals, and dreaming about the world beyond Porto Rosso. Watching the two grow closer, Alberto can't hide the lonely feeling growing inside him, and only 2 days remain before the Porto Rosso Cup. The three friends spend the afternoon training together. Luca rides his bicycle while Alberto and Giulia follow beside him. Everything seems peaceful until they pass through the town square. Suddenly, Luca freezes. Sitting beside the fountain are his parents, still searching the town for him. His heart nearly stops. Without saying a word, Luca quickly turns his bike and races down a narrow shortcut leading high into the hills, with Alberto and Giulia chasing after him. When they finally reach the top, the entire coastline stretches beneath them. Giulia points toward a set of railway tracks disappearing into the distance. She explains that the train travels all the way to Genoa, where she attends school every year. Luca stares at the tracks with wonder. "So, could I go to school there too?" he asks quietly. The question changes everything. Alberto's cheerfully grabs the bike himself. "I'll do it." He speeds downhill recklessly, laughing at first, but within seconds, the bicycle begins shaking violently. Alberto completely loses control. He narrowly misses several people before flying straight off the road and crashing into the ocean below. Without thinking, Luca dives into the water after him. The moment they touch the sea, both boys transform back into sea monsters. Luckily, no one notices. They swim to a deserted beach, where Luca finally explodes with anger. He accuses Alberto of acting selfishly and ruining everything. The two best friends begin shouting at each other, years of loneliness and frustration pouring out all at once. A few moments later, Giulia finally finds them. Standing beside the shore, Luca makes a life-changing decision. He tells Giulia that he wants to leave Porto Rosso and attend school in Genoa with her. Hearing those words completely shatters Alberto. Feeling abandoned and desperate, Alberto does something he instantly regrets. He steps into the water and deliberately reveals his true sea monster form in front of Giulia. Terrified, Giulia stares in disbelief. Instead of defending his friend, Luca panics. Afraid that Giulia will reject him too, he pretends he has never seen the sea monster before. "I don't know him." Luca lies. Those words hurt Alberto more than anything else ever could. Heartbroken, he silently swims away. Giulia, frightened and confused, runs back toward town. Luca immediately realizes the terrible mistake he has made. Filled with guilt, he returns to Giulia's house, hoping to explain everything. Trying to comfort him, Giulia splashes a little water onto Luca's face, to her complete shock. Luca instantly transforms into a sea monster as well. Everything suddenly makes sense. Realizing that Luca had been hiding the truth from her all along, Giulia feels betrayed. With nowhere left to go, Luca leaves town and swims back to Alberto's island. When he arrives, he finds their old watchtower badly damaged. Alberto sits alone at the very top, staring silently at the sea. Luca notices hundreds of small marks carved into the wooden wall. Curious, he asks what they mean. Alberto quietly explains that each mark represents another day his father never came back. His father abandoned him years ago, leaving Alberto completely alone on the island. For years he had no family, no friends, and no one to talk to. Then Luca appeared for the first time in his life. Alberto finally had someone who cared about him. Now he believes he has lost that person too. Luca finally understands how deeply he hurt his friend. Wanting to make things right, he decides to finish the race and prove himself. The morning of the Porto Rosso Cup finally arrives. Since Luca cannot enter the swimming event without revealing his identity, he puts on the old rusty diving suit Alberto once wore. Hidden inside the heavy suit, he quietly walks into the water with the other competitors. Meanwhile, Ercole is already cheating. He secretly covers his teammate Ciccio with olive oil, hoping it will help him swim faster. Instead, the oil attracts dozens of hungry anchovies. The tiny fish stick all over Ciccio's body, slowing him down so badly that he finishes almost last. Hidden inside the diving suit, Luca slowly walks across the ocean floor. Everything goes according to plan until the glass on his helmet suddenly cracks. Water begins leaking inside. Luca struggles to keep his face dry as he reaches the shore. Just as he thinks he's safe, Ercole purposely trips him. The helmet flies off. Luca barely manages to hide his transforming face before anyone notices. The next challenge is the giant pasta eating contest. Luca has never eaten human food with a fork before, making every bite awkward and slow. Seeing him struggle, Giulia quietly helps him without drawing attention. Meanwhile, Ciccio arrives far too late. Ercole quickly changes his strategy and orders Guido to take over the eating challenge instead. To make things even more unfair, Ercole secretly grabs his own team's pasta and shoves it into Guido's mouth so they can finish faster. Finally, the last stage begins. The bicycle race. This is the challenge Luca has practiced for more than anything else. Although his bicycle is old and worn out, he quickly races past almost every competitor. Within minutes, he reaches first place. Victory is finally within reach. Then disaster strikes. Dark clouds suddenly cover the sky. Rain begins pouring down. For Luca, rain is as dangerous as jumping into the ocean. If even a few drops touch him, his disguise will disappear. He hides beneath a small shelter, watching helplessly as the other racers speed past. Just then, Alberto arrives carrying a large umbrella. Without saying a word, he holds it over Luca so he can continue racing. Before they can leave, Ercole spots them. He races toward Alberto and violently kicks him. The umbrella flies away. Rain immediately pours onto Alberto. In front of the entire town, his human disguise disappears. Everyone finally sees the sea monster standing before them. Excited by the chance to become a hero, Ercole grabs a fishing net and begins chasing Alberto down the hill. Luca watches his best friend being hunted. He only has one choice. Ignoring the danger, Luca rides straight into the rain. Water splashes across his body. His own disguise disappears, revealing that he is a sea monster too. Without hesitation, Luca lifts Alberto onto the bicycle. The two friends race downhill together while Ercole chases them through the streets. Seeing everything unfold, Giulia refuses to stand aside. She crashes her bicycle directly into Ercole, stopping him. The collision throws her violently to the ground. She lies injured on the road. Luca and Alberto could easily escape. Instead, they turn around. Without caring about their own safety, they rush back to help their friend. Just then, Massimo arrives carrying his harpoon. The townspeople gather around the three children. Ercole loudly demands that everyone capture the sea monsters. But Massimo notices something important. Instead of attacking Giulia, the sea monsters are protecting her. Realizing the truth, Massimo lowers his weapon and stands in front of Luca and Alberto, shielding them from the angry crowd. His actions silence everyone. Moments later, the race judge announces the official results. Despite everything that happened, Luca and Alberto cross the finish line first according to the rules. They're the winners of the Porto Rosso Cup. Furious, Ercole argues that sea monsters shouldn't be allowed to win because they aren't human. This time, however, nobody supports him. The townspeople have seen the truth with their own eyes. Even Guido and Ciccio finally grow tired of Ercole's selfish behavior and walk away, leaving him standing alone in humiliation. Soon afterward, Luca's parents arrive. Instead of finding frightened humans chasing their son, they witness something they never believed possible. The people of Porto Rosso are accepting Luca and Alberto exactly as they are. For the first time, humans and sea monsters begin living together peacefully. Although the race prize isn't enough to buy a brand new Vespa, Luca and Alberto still manage to purchase a battered old scooter. It isn't perfect, but together, they happily ride through the colorful streets of Porto Rosso, enjoying the freedom they always dreamed about. As summer slowly comes to an end, Giulia prepares to return to Genoa for school. At the train station, the three friends gather for one final goodbye. Just before the train leaves, Alberto reveals a surprise. Without telling anyone, he sold their beloved scooter. The money wasn't for himself. He used every dollar to buy Luca a train ticket to Genoa so his best friend could finally achieve his dream of going to school. A few moments later, Luca's parents arrive carrying his packed suitcase. They explain that everything has already been arranged. Luca will stay with Giulia's mother while studying in Genoa. Overwhelmed with emotion, Luca invites Alberto to come with them. But Alberto gently smiles and shakes his head. He has found a new home in Porto Rosso. Massimo has welcomed him like family, and Alberto wants to stay and help him with fishing. The two best friends share one last emotional hug. Then Luca boards the train. As it slowly pulls away from the station, he looks out the window at Alberto, Giulia, his family, and the beautiful seaside town that changed his life forever. Leaving behind the ocean where he was born, Luca begins a brand new journey toward a future filled with knowledge, friendship, and endless possibilities.